Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing? I can't believe it is 12th week. We are on the last session for BESA program, and we appreciate your time and energy you invest into this. So, really happy to be with you. We are not ending the series in the sense like BESA program would continue. Only this batch would end today, but we would be coming up with more ideas, and obviously we need suggestions from you so that we could make this better and give you the most return on the investment of time and energy you do with our program. So I hope everyone is here. If you could let us know that how you are today. Just anything, good, bad, excited, energetic, or maybe looking to do something exciting, feel free to share. And then we will quickly get started with today's session. All right. I'll tell about my things. I had to do a lot of shoppings today. I'm having a list of things to shop, not like fancy stuff, but mostly household groceries and all. So yeah, I would be investing some time there. And I have a DIY project which I was delaying from long time, so I would finish this time today. So that's hopefully this is my plan. How about others? Anyone? So Puran is here. Thank you, Puran. So we will talk about lots of stuff today that will be starting with Liz discussion on how to hack the job hunt. So we'll talk about that, and then Jamila and Gisep will talk about the startup ecosystem of AWS and how AWS supports startup. So we will talk about lots of stuff. So let me add today's guest, who is Liz. Liz, I'm adding you to the stream.
Hello,
Uh,
hello.
hi,
Hi.
hi, Liz. What time is it there?
It's 1 a.m. in the morning. It's nice
Wow.
and when you say good morning, you're saying good morning. But it's okay. I'm a night owl, as I said. I've been traveling so much. Just got back from Australia, so I'm wide awake and ready to chat.
Nice. Thank you so much for your time. Now, I was checking your profile. You've been into like Australia, you worked in Indonesia, Netherlands, US. What else? And how come?
Yeah. Well, my dream was always to work in talent. I love people. I love the puzzle of people's careers. So that's what I
Mhm.
like to solve. And my dream was always to work in every country in the world. I didn't quite get there,
That's
but I have
interesting.
walked across every continent. My passion was emerging market talent challenges. So hiring into emerging markets like Nigeria,
Wow.
Saudi Arabia, Eastern Europe, the BRIC
Wow.
countries. So yeah, that was my passion.
Nice. And any specific country which you like the most, or there is no like top or bottom list?
Mm. They're all fun. I mean, I loved being in Indonesia. That was crazy.
Hmm.
I knew I was in for it when I arrived at the airport, and it took 5 hours in Banjir. Banjir is floods in a traffic jam. And I thought, if I
Okay.
can survive this, I can survive anything. So that was crazy time.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, there's like a lot of traffic jams, and like Asian countries are somehow little bit of challenging in terms of traffic. But
Mm.
yeah, that's an interesting experience, I would say. Yeah, good. And any specific place in Indonesia, like Bali, like that is most common place?
Yeah, well, actually, I like the uncommon places like the Gili Islands, or, they've got some beautiful, like the Komodo Islands, go a bit further afield. It's got great diving. I'm passionate about scuba diving. But, I was pulled there by work because it was a key market for us when I was working for Philips. So
Nice, good. Thank you. So I got your slide deck. I'll present these slide decks and I'll let you then take over. So I'll
great.
be here, but yeah, I'll ask questions in between and we can have like maybe a question and answer session at the end. And right.
Sounds
So
good.
audience, keep your questions coming. Liz is very experienced recruiter. She's been working into different fields. She manages lots of things in AWS. She's team lead for sales team, so for recruitment. So please leverage all the experience she has, and she is so means I would say it's like so humble to have you here at 1 o'clock. Means it's really appreciated. Thank you so much. I'll add you into the screen now.
Excellent. So we have Hacking the Job Hunt slides for you today, and you can go into my next slide already. A little bit of an overview of what we're going to cover. The 3 key things that I think you need to be aware of when you're going into the job hunt. And we'll start with that
Liz,
networking piece.
can I stop you for a minute? Would you
Sure.
mind introducing yourself, like what you do on AWS, so that we have a context on like what this is all about? Yeah.
Yeah, I will. That's the next slide after this one. So I'm going to give you an overview of what we're going to do today. First, and then I'll introduce a bit about me. And
Sure.
so what we're going to do today is really hack the job hunt, right? So 3 basic components of hacking the job hunt, which is the first piece is around the networking piece, which we always forget. We always think it's about submitting CVs, but the most important thing you can do is really network your way into a job. Then it is also about your resume basics and your profile and how to stand out and how to really articulate your value proposition to the market. And we'll also talk a little bit about how to polish up your interview style. So they're the kind of 3 core critical things you need to get good at doing. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And they're the kind of questions that I want to hear from you. And if we go to the next slide, I'll tell you a bit more about me. Yeah, so as mentioned, I'm actually the global POC for worldwide commercial sales, which is our main sort of customer facing business. It's about 67% of AWS revenue globally. And we primarily hire sales and solution architects. So that's our core hiring area. Prior to that, I worked at a company called DSM, where I was in a global head of talent role, where I hired a lot of engineers and tech and science folks. And then I was at Google. Prior to that, I was tasked with setting up the next billion users software engineering team in Singapore and Asia, which was super fun. And as I mentioned, when I first started, my specialty is emerging markets all around the world and how you can tailor your brand for any job, any market, anytime. So let's kick into our first topic, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about your personal brand as you go on LinkedIn. Because this is something that we don't spend a lot of time. And I'm just going to give some basics to start off. And then if you have deeper questions, we'll dive into those. So the first thing is your professional headshot. I actually use my badge photo from Amazon for LinkedIn because that's what I was guided to do. And I think it works perfect, simple, straightforward. I still see a lot of shadow sunglasses, photos at weddings. I think that's a distraction from you and your brand. So keep it simple with just a professional straight on photo. The most important thing that I would get you to do straight away if I was working with you is customize your headline. When a recruiter and often now hiring managers are searching on LinkedIn or through social media, they're not seeing your full LinkedIn when they first they're seeing a long list and they're seeing a very small tile of your LinkedIn. So put yourself in the shoes of that hiring team of what they're actually seeing. So they're seeing a tile with your photo, your name, maybe a location, and what we call your headline. And often your headline will default to whatever your most recent job title is, but you have the ability to customize that with very tailored world. So my headline will be Global Talent Acquisition Leader because that's how I choose to present myself. Simple, honest, straightforward. But you could use some keywords there. You could really start to highlight the specific technologies or areas like FSI or verticals that you want to work in. So this is the most important line on your LinkedIn profile. If you actually go to the next slide, you can see I've already summarized all this list, right, with you. And the way in which LinkedIn search works from a recruiter's perspective is it works entirely on Boolean strings or keywords. So your keywords are critical. if you're not being very specific about what you're putting on your profile, you're not going to be findable. And your job, first and foremost, is to make yourself easy to search, easy to find. And when we see that tile, we want to go straight into, does this person have the key core qualifying criteria for what I'm seeking? And then when we actually get into your real LinkedIn profile, again, I think sometimes people forget the most important thing, which is be data driven. And both in your CV and your LinkedIn profile, it should match. So one of the things that they'll be looking for is if your CV is really detailed and your LinkedIn is very sparse, then that might be, well, why don't we see the sort of the data or the information on the CV reflected on your public profile? So you want to make sure that they are aligned, connected, have the same job titles, the same dates. And we still see people just not spending the time on that profile to make sure that it has those data-driven achievements. And the best thing is what I learned at Google, which is you just keep it super simple. Achieved X impact with Y actions. Really simple. Achieved, what did I achieve? What did I deliver? What value did I bring in my learn and be curious projects or experiments, or even the cool things that I've done in my spare time? What sort of value does that bring to a user or a customer? And very high level action statements on how you got there, with your data driven statements that will really make your profile stand out and be exciting to hiring teams. So the best thing about LinkedIn as well is you can really showcase your achievements. So I'm going to ask you to go to the next slide, because I'm going to give you an example of a solution architect whose profile I really like. And I think it just will show you a little bit of what I'm meaning. So this is Ashmit Kara. She's in Sydney, my hometown. Here, we can see her headline statement. It's just senior solutions architect at Amazon. So it's super simple. In her about statement, look, it is a long statement that you can see here. And there's, different perspectives on should it be short and sharp and sweet, but it's super filled with keywords and data, action-orientated, results-driven business, 14 years experience, really shows me the segments and verticals of customers this person's interested or experienced with. And then it shows me all the technologies. So this person is going to hit all the keywords that I'm searching for, or the hiring manager is searching for. Now, obviously, this person's maybe has many more years experience, but that doesn't mean in your about keywords you can't use targeted information of what you're aiming to do. But the other great thing about this person is, as you can see to the right side of the slide, they've really used that active multimedia. So they've got work product for me to go in and click on and maybe get a sense of how this person presents to audiences. And when we're thinking about a solution architect, we're thinking about someone who's extremely tech savvy, has broad and deep technical skill sets in multiple areas. I want to look at their verticals, segments, like retail, finance, etc. But I also want to see, can they be a thought leader? And so this person is really positioning themselves as a thought leader to me. They've got this background of them presenting at reInvent, engaging our customers at our most important meeting. So I'm also looking for that business savvy, that they understand how to work backwards from our customers and tailor solutions and articulate things in a way that any customer can absorb and understand. So I've got some great links that I can click on. I've got work product I can dive into. I might even have some cross links to GitHub where I can cross-reference their tech projects with their customer interfacing interaction capability. So that's just a first little step around building your brand. The next slide is really around how you then network yourself. So I'm
Liz,
sure
can I
you have,
ask a question
yeah,
here?
jump in.
So that it will be like, so we talked about that there is a difference between buzzword and keywords.
Yeah.
So little idea on that, like how you differentiate it.
Yeah, I think a buzzword is something that might be popular and seems really important. So, like, like we have a lot of buzzwords like um, problem solving,
Hmm.
collaborative, and everyone has them. You're going to have them, but sometimes what they add up to is something that isn't what you're going to be searching,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
it also seems to lose meaning. What does collaborative meaning? We see it on every CV. So in after a while, there's no data around it. I can't quantify it. So the keywords are really going to be pushing those heavier skills that are more quantifiable, like your tech, like your verticals, where they instantly have a meaning and they're the kind of words that I'm going to be using in a search string. When I'm looking, when I'm sourcing on LinkedIn, when I'm sourcing the net, when I'm trying to X-ray GitHub, I'm trying to find certain words, and they have instant meaning. So I think really what that's saying is put yourself in the shoes of the person that's searching. And if you look at the word choice on your profile, have you chosen words that they're going to be entering into their Boolean search string?
Makes sense. And I want to like take another question, which is like,
Sure.
uh, it's going back a little bit on before even let's say somebody is coming to their LinkedIn profile, like, and just use this like very basic information, nothing Amazon specific. How a recruiter starts searching for candidates. So let's say you got a job profile or you got a requisition from a hiring manager. What is your next step as a recruiter? So we want to get an idea on that.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, it's quite in depth, so let me summarize it for you. So we're going to have a detailed briefing in most cases to just revisit this job description with a hiring manager, and we're going to extrapolate what is the sort of ideal profile? What does someone need to be doing to be working with X customer in FSI or SMB? What are the type of technologies they most need to be across? What is critical versus nice to have?
Hmm.
And from that, we're going to build what we call search strings or Boolean operators. And old school recruiters like me love to do that. And then X-Ray, Google, and other. So we'll do in URL searches for LinkedIn and a range of web sources will basically scrape the web with search strings that have operators like and, or, either, or that kind of can open up the talent pipeline or close it down. So we're going to enter those search strings either directly into LinkedIn. Makes it super easy now. So it's just like ticking boxes, but you can still sort of what I call X-ray the whole web so that you bring up a diverse search. And so when they search, they're going to build lists. And as I said, so if it's LinkedIn, which is a primary area, it's going to look like you're just going to have pages and pages of people that come up in that search. And so you're just going to see very small, what I call tiles of candidates and wanting to be, and that's where your headline, your photo, and some of your key information can make a key difference in sort of wanting that recruiter to deep dive into your profile.
Yeah, and is there like a filtering system which LinkedIn applies automatically? Like, hey, this person was very active, so let's put him or her on the top of your keyword search, or any other criterias are there, if you are aware.
I'll stack rank the person to who has the most of
Relevant.
match, ding, 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 matching those keywords. It
Makes
won't necessarily be activity.
sense.
But what's really interesting to me is as a recruiter, we just go more and more in depth. So before it used to be just very static, looking at what they've done, where they've been, and that's still the core. But now I'll go and look, even now, I'll be looking at their posts, I'll be looking at their comments, I'll be looking at their interactions because we're looking for thought leadership.
Makes sense. And do you pay attention to on LinkedIn there is a setting which says open to work? Do you mind that, or how recruiter takes that?
Yeah, the big open to work debate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. From our perspective, it's very personal and subjective, and I feel for job seekers because you hear very opinionated recruiters tell you things, and of course, it's very subjective. Um, from an Amazon perspective, we love it. It just makes our job so much easier. It's like putting a big alert sign. There's literally no judgment saying open to work. That I think people have said they're worried of being stigmatized by it. Nope. Why would we? Many top, talented, amazing people have been laid off in the last 8 months in tech, and putting that open to work banner. We're just trying to find people. So if you can make yourself stand up, why not stand out? Why not?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Uh, Let me add you back to the stream. Sorry if I'm interrupting your thought process,
Oh,
but yeah, that.
please. I love an interruption. It's kind of the family dinner table at the Mackay household, is people interrupting each other and talking over the top of each other. So I love it. I
Yeah,
really only had one more sort of key point here, which was, if we go forward in the slide,
sure.
which is about once we've kind of done this, this is the other thing, certifications are huge, right? This is a key thing. This is where tech recruiters are going to really dive into the details. And of course, we love AWS certifications because we understand them and we understand what they map back to. So the future is really about skills, upskilling, micro credentialing. So we're really big on focusing on your skills. So I would spend time ticking those boxes. And I personally, subjective recruiter talk here, love recommendations, and I love looking at how many have been given versus received. And I really think you can sense the genuineness of a recommendation. And this is where we come into, you can tell as a recruiter whether someone's given it just willingly because they really appreciated the work of that individual, or whether they've kind of done it because the person sort of said, please, please. You can tell that whether they're really giving that endorsement to that individual. So we're looking for those genuine, authentic endorsements, and really looking at the qualitative nature of what that person provided, the value they gave to the business, the customer, the end user. So that's a big tip. Um, of course, recruiters don't have a lot of time, so some might just get to those headlines and those keywords in the summary. But as you go through the process, it's not just about that first contact a recruiter makes. They'll come back to this and keep deep diving. And the more you go through the process of an interview and a hiring situation, they'll be looking at all of these things and discussing them with the hiring manager. So once we've really got this, we can move on and say, okay, we've really looked at our profile, we've pimped our profile, we're ready for the market. What next? The most important thing you can do is think about your script. What's your reach out? You can't just apply to a job these days. You have to be engaging. So you want to ideally reach out to the hiring manager, perhaps on LinkedIn, and have a conversation. So one of the things I see is very direct reach outs where it's just like, get me a job. And I would just encourage you to think when you're scripting the how you reach out, make sure you're getting the name right. I often get people asking me for a job at another company or getting my name wrong, um, or being very direct rather than thinking, how can I put myself in the shoes of this recruiter or hiring manager? What problem are they trying to solve, and how can I help them solve that problem? And if you just do a basic search on LinkedIn, there's some really great examples of different scripts that people use that catch the eye and get attention. So you really want to be thinking, how do I actually build a relationship with the people I'm trying to get hiring me, rather than have it be transactional and just spamming their inbox, right? So that's a really important component of the job search and the job hunt. I'm just going to pause there and see if there are any questions about networking and branding before we move on to the next section.
Yeah, I'll I'll take a question from the audience. So there is a
Mm.
question which is like not branding specific, but yeah, talking about like, hey, do you have an example of what a recruiter sees in LinkedIn when browsing profiles? So you already answered like there would be tiles and all, but any other information which is visible there?
I don't. I wasn't able to share with you, but let me. What I like to do when I'm working with someone individually is I'll go and show them my screen, but I can't do that today, and I'll show them what we see when we're doing a search. But in the initial phase, it's probably just going to be that name, location, and I'm going to see and I'm going to see that statement that I mentioned. They're sort of your main statement to the world about who you are, and then the tire will run out of room, and I might see a grab of the experience and a grab of education. And the other thing, as I said, I'll see spotlights. So the first thing I'll see is that open to work, or um, do they are they a company follower of AWS?
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously a recruiter at Google will say, are you a company follower of Google? So little spotlights will pop up. Like also, are they a first connection or a second connection, and who they know? So there's like little um, teaser information that I can see. And as I said, I'm just doing a search now to kind of refresh. And there's like, I just saw someone, they've got, solution architect, no photo. And it's not necessarily a complete watch out, but I just think it's nice to have that professional photo, right? And I'll be honest, my eye is drawn to those open to work banners.
And taking a step back, Liz, like, so let's say you start your search from internal system because internally there is a huge database of people who applied, or do you
Yeah,
start directly on LinkedIn, or it depends on recruiter?
such a good question. It really depends on the context of the situation and where we're at. So Um, what I would say is generally recruiters are always searching. So we're always, we most companies have teams that are sourcing, searching, and then we have teams that are managing, the hiring manager, the hiring team setting up interviews. So they work in partnership. But there are others, obviously, some teams that just have end-to-end recruiters that are doing all of it. So they're always skipping around it. From an Amazon perspective, I can tell you we have a great what we call CRM or database, that we have pools of candidates that we've already engaged with. So we'll absolutely search there. At the moment, we're absolutely going to be looking at internal talent for sure. Um, but it just depends on the circumstances. Sometimes a hiring manager might say, I know no one in the internal media environment has this skill set, so you're probably likely going to go more external at this time. Or they're going to go, I just want the best person, which means whoever is the best for this job internally, externally, I just want to do a conjoined search. So we'll do both simultaneously and just try to get the best people in front of that manager.
Okay, nice. And sorry, I'm asking too many questions. So I have
Fine.
another question. Like, let's say you filtered out 10 candidates. So do you reach out to them directly, or you first run them through the hiring manager?
Okay, that's another really good question. And again, it depends, right? So solution architecture, is a very well-known role to us, right? So typically we have very experienced recruiters who know what to look for, and they'll just go straight away and reach out. But there are certain, we might have a role. We have a really exciting role right now that is for Coupang, which is an amazing Korean customer, and it's that we're hiring a solution architect for them based in Seattle, even though it's a Korean-based organization. So that's something where it's quite unique and specific. So we might think, hey, I'll run this by the hiring manager, and hey, do you think this profile is that sort of hitting what you need? And we want to talk to the hiring manager and say, well, why didn't it? Like, was there oh, they didn't have this skill, or, oh, okay, so that's really more important to you. You might have said to me, it's a nice to have, but actually it's now looking like more of a must have. So what we're doing is we're calibrating the type of profile that this role and the customer needs to have, particularly in my space, because it's very customer focused solution architecture. So we're really calibrating that as we go, or if it's a newly created role that we possibly haven't hired before, that's where we might double, triple check before we reach out. And in some cases, these solution architects are in demand, so we might actually ask the hiring manager to reach out instead of us, because they might actually connect better. So we've got a little hack for that where they can automatically reach out and book time on the hiring manager's calendar to have what we call a coffee chat, like just to sort of test the water.
This is interesting. I was not aware about that. I thought every time I would be hearing from recruiter, but yeah, good to know.
Sometimes we get them involved because they might be able to engage with you in a different way on a work level.
Get your point. Yeah,
And
I
we
do.
know sometimes tech people get frustrated with recruiter reach outs, especially if they're bad. So
No,
some of them,
that is a perception of someone, but no, I don't think so. That everyone is having a specific job to perform, and obviously recruiter plays an important role in that. So why not?
okay, so I think we need to just move this along. So let's, if you can help me out here, Scott. Yeah, this is just a great summary of that sort of getting networking, right? So I'm a big fan of old school networking, getting out to meetups, building with builders. AWS does a lot of meetups, and so do a lot of other companies. So I encourage you to go to that. If they're a good senior leader in the organization, they're always hiring. So it's a great way to differentiate yourself from the crowd. But as I said, you also can network on LinkedIn so well now. And, we're looking at people who engage in conversation. So whether it be on a post, actually articulating some really interesting ideas and having a bit of a conversation with the OP, fine. Proactively attracting employers, I'm pro proactivity, so I'm going to tell you to put that open to work banner. One thing that we've seen a lot of success with is sometimes having someone who you respect, who's respected in the industry, post on your behalf and say, Mr. X or Miss X is looking for a job right now. I just want to talk to you about their work ethic and some of the great projects they've done and some of the skills that they have. When we've actually seen that sort of third-party endorsement style post, a lot of people getting hired from those kind of posts at the moment. So that's really big at the moment, and you've probably seen them a lot in the last 6 months as well. Targeting companies. So that's where I'm really thinking about your script. Like, where you're going, these are the kind of managers I would crawl over broken glass to work with. I'm passionate about working with them. I work with an amazing VP called Greg Pearson. I would do anything to work with Greg Pearson, right? So I wanted to work in his space. I wanted to learn from him. So pick those people and think about what you would say to them, i.e., what are the problems they're solving and how can you help be part of the solution, rather than connecting and asking for something, right? So that, if we really think about networking as exchanging value, that'll help you. And that's where the customization and the positivity comes in, because it might take a few tries and persistence. A lot of good tech talent on the market right now. So it might take a few iterations before you're successful with networking. And networking is something I talk to a lot of job seekers, and most don't do it because it's uncomfortable. So if you want to differentiate yourself from the crowd, this is something that will definitely do that. I think that's it for that. And we can move right on to the next slide. All right, let's do some really quick resume basics and interview skills, because I want to finish up so we can just dialogue. It's much more fun. So let's go into the next slide. I think I said before, this is the thing that I think is the most important thing, is that your resume and your LinkedIn align, right? So at the moment, what is really great is if you keep it simple. And apart from what I've already got on the screen, make sure you have your social media links clearly signposted, because they've done resume eye tracking studies, and the average recruiter will spend maybe 10 seconds on your resume at first. So they're just looking, and the eye tracking studies have shown they go to your most recent job. So you want to put your most exciting key skills, certifications, or recent job first, whatever's the most important thing. They'll look at your location, and they'll look at your name. That's what the eye tracking studies show. So it's a very quick search in the initial one, like really fast. And then if they see something in those keywords that we referenced before, they're going to go back and do a deeper dive, and that's when they're going to look at your CV or resume more holistically. So that's why if that's happening, then you don't need pictures, graphics, all of those things. Actually, for larger companies, they don't really show up well in our system. So they'll often come as an error, or impact the font, and just make it hard for those eyes to follow your key impacts. So just keep it simple. I actually think if you don't need to have an objective or summary statement if you've got tons of experience, but if you don't, this is when this summary statement or objective can just show the recruiter what you want. So keeping it simple is also about just, what do you want to do? And sometimes we just see people making these summary statements that are so broad and generic that it's hard to tell that they're trying to position themselves here or here. And this is where I like to have a discussion on customized resumes. Sometimes you have a strong general resume and you'll just finesse it and change certain basics of it as you submit to different roles. You should be doing that. You should be customizing your resume to highlight the parts of your experience that most match the job description that you've just read. So you're trying to highlight, oh, I've got that, and this is when I've done it. So if you're not changing it, that's spam resume, right? So it should be customized as you go to certain job descriptions, and you want to shape the story to solving the problem that organization has, right? Your first job is, I can solve that problem, I can fill that gap. We're skills and keyword based now, so everything around certifications, education, and skills is particularly critical if you're just starting out in industry. And obviously, reverse chronological order is generally preferred, but as I said, I'm being very subjective, so these are just some quick tips. Most important thing is accomplishments. I'm a pro accomplishment person, and I believe that every single person, no matter what your job was, can put a very short statement of what you did, and then a separate area where you quantify your achievements, where you can really use data to show the value that you added. You can estimate that data. You can find statements that illustrate the impact of what you've done, whether it be an award you won or specific data on how it improved cost, save time, save money, added value to a customer. Even if it was a simulated project, you can quantify that. I think you can estimate that. And I think that's really, really important. And that will distinguish you from the crowd, because also many don't quantify their achievements. And any tech company is very data driven. So there's sort of some quick basics about the CV. I'm going to pause there because this is also a good one for questions.
Yeah, means I completely agree to what you just said. And yeah, there are some questions which are like, One I'll put on the screen, which is coming from Jaideep, and it says, which keyword we could use to help our profile get more reach when searched?
See, the interesting part is there's a problem in your question because it assumes that there's keywords that are universal to every job, right? And that's where I think we need to think about, yeah, there are certain keywords, there are certain technologies that are core. So first and foremost, it's about your target companies. So if you're wanting to be hired by a Google or an Amazon, there are key technologies that are common. There are key certifications that are common. So you're going to want to highlight those keywords which are going to have more reach. If you're wanting to work for a startup, it's going to be very different. So I think the first thing you need to do is define what you're looking for. I think it's very hard to say there's a universal keyword that will get the attention of everybody in the market. And that's why some of the things that worry me is that we tend to do our LinkedIn once and leave it, and our CV once and leave it. And I guess my passion today is try customizing it. We're problem solving builders, you're experimenters. Try different tests, do some A B testing, and see whether you get through different keywords. Obviously, it's got to be true, but by sort of shaping and highlighting different things, do you get better reach? Try that out yourself. But I think it really depends on where you're intending to end up.
Get it? Yeah, there's no universal keywords, and if it was,
I
like
don't think
everyone
so.
would fall into that umbrella. So how you differentiate there?
But let's take AWS as an example. If I want to be a solution architect, now we know a solution architect, there's probably 13 different type of,
Mhm.
it's the most broad thing. It's like there's no one solution architect. You can be a partner SA, you can be, however, there's some core general SA stuff. Go and read the SA job description in a couple of markets. Read one that's advertised in the UK, the US, and Australia. That's just a great example. Find the keywords that they're most repeating, and you'll see what the basic qualifications, desirable qualifications are from an AWS perspective. And that's what you're going to want to reflect in your keywords, but it's going to have to be true. And you're going to want to see it in certifications, which is why that's not just the job description is the clue to what skills you need, but also that your keyword search. If AWS is your target company, right? So it really depends on what your target, but that would be how I would do it. And if I was really industrious, I would then go, okay, well, what does it look like at the other companies I'm targeting? And is there a kind of commonality that I can pitch myself to the market?
Yeah, that completely makes sense. Now I'm going to take one more question from audience. It is a very long-winded question. Yeah, but I feel this pain here, what he's trying to say, Chris. So the last 2 or 3 places I worked, I have an B2B with quite significant problem to solve. Have you any
Mm,
advice for demonstrating one value to an enterprise without compromising their privacy or highlighting the issue they were having?
that's such a good question. Um, I think the advice I'm going to kick in, but I think I need to phone a friend on this one. I think you might be able to help me as well with this one. Um, that is a problem, especially if people are working in sort of government or public sector, sometimes it can be really difficult. I still think that we go back to maybe the scale of it. So if if you think about the problem, like what problem you solved, you can always extrapolate the non-confidential elements. It will possibly make it more generic, but that's okay. But then you can always quantify an impact in terms of able to save time, cost, or improve revenue. There's always an upside in those 3 areas. So I don't think any of those would compromise the identity of a customer. So I think I would just focus on those big ticket benefits. Um, but I think this is also more of a problem for the interview as well. If there's certain things you can and cannot say. So I think it would create my tip to you is to do more homework on writing down the great work you did and then just editing out the things that can't be shared, because for sure there's some things that you can share.
Yeah, means quantification can always be in terms of time you saved or revenue you generated or the more profit you brought to business, or could be you solve the problem of manpower or whatever. But yeah, maybe little generic, but still data would not be not data can be still there, but maybe not the specific information can be can be there.
Correct. So I think what you need to do is find the data that
Yeah.
de-identifies the specific customer, so that as long as it could be, oh, that could be 16 different FSI companies. I don't necessarily think it's this FSI. If you can extrapolate that enough, the problem with that, and that's the kind of trade-off, is that it will make your answer more slightly more generic.
Now, in the same line, I have a question. Like, if I have my company listed on LinkedIn as confidential, how recruiters see it?
Yeah, very few people have. I don't think I've ever seen someone list their company as confidential. I'm sure someone has.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. But yeah, means it's a little
yeah,
odd nowadays. But yeah, I've seen some of these profiles like that.
yeah, yeah. I would have to say that that is going to make them less searchable, right? So that's again the trade-off. Um, and I think if it really is that confidential, you're in a very specific space. And so your way of being searchable is probably not LinkedIn. You're probably going to have to go through offline secret squirrel networking ish. You're going to, you're going to have to do
Yeah.
that. Um, it's funny though. I do think there is something whereby, as a back end searcher, you if you put in certain keywords, those people will still come up, right? And it's not an absolute rule out, but I have seen what we call them in the biz skeleton profiles. Because ideally, I want the opposite. I don't want a skeleton profile. I want as much information as I can get. So sometimes I'll look at a skeleton profile and bypass it, but other times I'll be like, there's something there I need to dig. So we'll follow up. But obviously there's the challenge with selecting those highly confidential jobs. They're probably super exciting, but it will possibly make it harder for you to be more visible and searchable. So you're going to have to probably be more proactive in your reach outs and networking.
Get your point. Yeah, means CIA won't be recruiting spies from LinkedIn, isn't it?
I would
Or
love that. Can someone watch this and ask me to recruit spies? Because I would really love to take up that challenge, because I have no idea where I would start. I'd probably leave some secret messages at the local
yeah,
supermarket for us to
yes,
to meet.
old school spycraft. Yeah, I get it. Thank you. All right, so we'll keep moving forward if you want to move to next slide, Liz.
Yeah, let's move on. So I'm going to move fairly quickly through the next few slides because I want to finish up and just have a chat. So next one. All right, the virtual interview. It's really interesting. I mean, really basic stuff here, and I'm assuming you all know this, but it's fascinating even when you know we don't do it. I'm breaking one of my own rules today. I'm not wearing a headset. I think it's so good to have a headset so that you don't have sound issues. Um, Really like it's really dark for me, so I've got my selfie light on today, right, so that you can see me, because I have seen um, what I like to call a spy interview where the lighting is really bad and you can barely see the person. So all of those basics are just going to make you more confident. The biggest thing that I see now is people are, and especially in people who are maybe in the first 5 years of their career, I'm seeing a lot of reading notes on their examples. Actually, I would say I see that a lot. And it's difficult because I know that you need to know your background. However, it takes away from the experience of really connecting to the interviewer and selling yourself. So I have really seen a lot of people looking down like this to to read. So my advice is really straightforward. Make sure it's in your field of vision. You can get a stand and have your notes up there. If you need to sort of glance to the right and then glance back to the person, just to remind yourself of a few of your cheat sheet bullet points that you're using for your examples, fine, no problem whatsoever. So that's a big one for the basics. And although it's hard, I really prefer an in-person interview because you can match, mirror, you can build rapport so much better. But we're all virtual nowadays, so I still think there's a real art form to kind of mirroring their body language and their to really sort of reading the room. So sometimes you're so focused as a candidate on how you feel that you forget to just connect with that person. Remember, your job is not to be perfect or to give perfect answers, although you think it is. Your job is to just take a deep breath, connect with that person and think, how can I solve a problem for them? What is the problem that person needs solved? And how do I fill that gap? If you come in with that mindset, I think you will do so much better, even if you don't share your examples perfectly. Even if you do leave out some important data, you've done something more important than that. But the fun thing about the interview, I see experienced people make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes in their interview. It's what makes us human. So, I love this one. Be comfortable and don't fidget, because you can see me doing it now. I'm very expressive with my hands, so I sometimes have to sit on my hands when I'm doing interviews, so I'm not that expressive because I don't want to distract candidates. We can look at the next slide as well. This is this diamond. We have a great diamond analogy for the star. Everyone's heard about STAR, which is situation, task, action, result. And we can go to the next slide again, but this is the funniest thing about the STAR method, right? Is everyone knows, and very rarely is it used. So every single time I'm interviewing, I'm mentally going, what was the situation they clarified? What was the task? What was the action? What was the result? And when I'm doing that, whatever you miss in your answer is going to be my probing follow-up question. So I'm always looking for that situation, task, action, result based answer. Everybody is. And keeping to the structure at first is really important. And then as you get more confident, you can kind of maybe wing it a little bit. The thing that I would suggest that you do is get a piece of paper and figure out your 10 best examples of your career so far. And write down on that paper, STAR, right? Really simple. And write the situation in a line, the task in a line, the key action in 1 or 2 lines, and then the key result. Super sharp, super short, super high level. That's your cheat sheet. If you can't write that or you don't know that, you haven't prepared enough and you're not ready. And I always say, if you're interviewing in a lot of companies, you probably need 10 good examples. So if you're winging it on going, oh yeah, I'll just do STAR in the moment, it never works, and the lack of preparation really shows. We like to talk about, once you've done those things, the cut of your story to the appropriate length. Again, subjective recruiter advice here, but what I like to do is say, do a shorter version of your STAR, and then if they miss anything, they can do follow-up questions. Because sometimes what happens, if you try to give every piece of information, the story gets so convoluted, we can't follow your train of thought. So I go with those short, sharp, concise, but I'm an Amazonian and we like concise. So you may need to think about the company and read the room when you're cutting your story to the appropriate length. Make sure your answers are colorful and exciting. Tell the story. Paint the picture of this pain. This was the pain point, right? What was the task I had to do is the biggest thing everyone misses. Everyone tells me a lot about the situation, but telling me what your role in navigating the solution is often missing. So make that clear. My role was to own X. I owned this work stream. My part was to deep dive into the root cause of Z. But tell us about just 2 or 3 really interesting actions that you took to solve the problem that you're describing in your STAR. You don't have to tell me everything. And then the result, it goes double for those quantitative and qualitative answers. We're looking for data, data, data. Even in simulated projects, you should have some data. So what did that do? How did it save time? What did it mean from a customer experience? If you couldn't quantify it with data, can you use qualitative data in terms of feedback or surveying or manager inputs? So that's the most important thing, and we call that the carrot. And that's only then will you be ready with your perfect diamond, with your cut, your color, your clarity of following the format, your weight of data. Will you be ready for the big proposal? This is so corny, but I love it. And I think that's pretty much the end of our slides now. We're done. Basic tips, you'll see them anywhere. There's nothing new. You just got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the analogy of star. It's completely makes sense. Like you have a rough diamond, sharp it, like polish it, and then present what is required. That's an interesting one. Thank you so much.
I'm going to give you one more tip for free, right? Because two things to say, and then I'm done. And you know, I don't know if there are any questions or we wrap up here, but the STAR method comes from adult learning theory. It was like universities saying, how do we know students know what they know? How do we know that they really learned? The STAR method was introduced as a learning theory to say that we really can validate they've really learned what we needed them to learn in their tertiary education. And that's why it's so powerful, because it's about saying, how do we know you can do what you say you can do? And that's why it's so widely used as a behavioral interviewing technique. And so, in the interest and spirit of adult learning theory, a little extra thing. So, situation, task, action, result, add another R to that, which is reflection. And reflection is, if I had the same example again, what would I do differently? If you proactively add in an example how you're learning from that example, and I think I could have done this better, and next time I'll do this, or even better, you've applied the learning to a future situation after that example, that makes you the best candidate in the world, in my opinion, because that makes you completely learn and be curious. It makes you the candidate that learns from their mistakes and is able to be humble and vocally self-critical enough to share it and earn my trust. So I think just that's a personal one and it's subjective, but I also think that talking to my recruiting and hiring manager peers in multiple companies, they really value that extra adding of perspective and reflection. And as people potentially early in your career, switching careers, you can provide that reflection to them, and that will again make you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, that would be really value add to whatever you are saying, and that gives the same thing, like you said, learn and be curious. Okay, it's not like just I completed, but I learned from it, and I am trying to apply this into next project. So that's interesting.
Exactly. And the hiring manager will say, well, maybe that wasn't the right solution they should have chosen, but they got it. They realized their mistake. And I, as a manager, can work with that because that means they're coachable. We
Yeah.
don't need perfect people, but we need people who are coachable. If they think they know everything and they're not willing to shift, there's not a lot we can do. And that makes you difficult to hire if you're not willing to learn from your mistakes.
Nice,
That's
interesting tip.
it. Any
That's
questions?
Yeah, so we will take some question from audience. Anyone who has questions, please put them into chat and I'll share on the screen. I have one question here, Liz, so I'll add it on the screen. So let us know like what you think. This is a common question. People are trying to change careers and they may be working in, let's say, automobile and now want to move to cloud.
Yeah.
How they should position their CV because they are new starter in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what you need to think about is review your experience in the STAR method as you prepare
Mhm.
for your interview and apply that to your CV. And through that process, you should learn about, if you're doing something completely different, is there anything that's transferable, right? So if you're going from a non-tech to a tech, if there's anything around a customer or a user, or working backwards, or building relationships, that's still relevant to, say, a solution architecture career. So highlight those elements of the background, even though it's not the right job, still tease out those things that are transferable into the new job. The other thing is shorten that experience. So if you've got a CV that was designed for a completely different career and it's 6 pages and it's going through everything and it's going through a lot of detail, you don't need that level of detail, because a lot of that will be extraneous data that is not relevant to that new career. So do it nice, short, sharp, concise. The next thing is really pump up to the top your skills, learning, micro credentials, or evidence of experiments. Okay. So this is what we will say to anyone that's in a batch course. So, do you have any certifications that you've done in this new career field, especially an AWS certification? Hint, hint. Do you have any courses that you've done, any quick courses, anything in that new field that could show evidence of learning or transferability? But the most important thing is, if you've done a program and you've done some simulated practice projects, they're going to be your headline, right? Because that's really the only experience you have. But there might be enough in there just to show, oh, there's something in this person, we can build on that, we can coach through it. So you're going to design your CV, in my opinion, you're going to design your CV differently to highlight more of that piece, the ability to learn and be curious and agile, and shows, if you have evidence that you're coachable, then I can move you across. That's going to come up to the top of the CV, and the less relevant experience is going to go down to the bottom, but we're still going to tease out those relevant elements.
Makes sense. Good advice.
Right.
Now, I have one question of mine, and it is about like, hey, I applied for a job, I haven't received anything. Can I still talk to recruiter or hiring manager? Means I
Yeah.
haven't heard back. I applied already.
The CV black hole,
Yeah.
right? We call this. This is the number one critique against recruiters, and the number one use case for AI, especially generative AI in recruiting. We're just not high on the investment list, but we need to be. So, we desperately need it, because we have all these data lakes dying for some AI to help us surface CVs because they get lost. So you can help us out, right? Typically, you can, again, put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter and hiring manager and think of what problem they're trying to solve and how overwhelmed they are with so many CVs, and think, how can I stand out? So absolutely, it's really good to be able to figure out who the recruiter or the hiring manager or the hiring team is, and to build that relationship. My advice, though, is that you probably need to start digging the well before you need the water. So if they're posting the job ad and you didn't get a call back, it might be because they're overloaded and haven't seen your CV, or it might be that your CV doesn't have as much strength as maybe some of the other applicants. And so digging the well before you need the water is an important line that I use to say, you might have needed, if you're transitioning into a new career, to reach out to that before they've posted the role, to have already pre-built that relationship, to have already socialized yourself a little bit with your target hiring managers. That's why that online and offline networking is so, so very important. But there have been many times when I've been recruiting and someone has phoned me, because no one phones anyone anymore. It's uncomfortable. People like text. And they've phoned me out of the blue, and it's been inconvenient. But then I've gone, oh my gosh, this is an amazing candidate, and I missed their CV completely, and I need to pull them in.
Okay.
So it is worth doing, but be careful about being pushy, aggressive, or spam. Like, so sometimes it's just like, I've actually had people say, get me a job, or you need to talk to me, rather than again going, yeah, they have, rather than
Wow.
going, hey, Liz, I see you have that role. I have applied. I know you haven't. I know you must be busy with lots of CVs. Here's why I think I'm worth 5-minute call with you. Or here's why I think I can add value. or I might not be right for this, but I'd like to build a long-term relationship with you where you can keep me in mind for future. And then I've come back to those people again and again. So it's the people that use EQ, that really think before they reach out, that I want to go out of my way to help. And I think hiring managers are the same, right? The other big one is, if it's a tech job, get to the meetup, because all the people from those teams are doing meetups and physical things now all the time. So, and if you can actually just drop it into the convo. By the way, I put my CV in. They're not hiring events, those meetups, but they can be an incidental hiring boost to you. So that's another tip to just be a bit different, is if you can. I know it's not always easy, physically get in front of people.
So invaluable advice. I agree on that. I'll take two questions, Liz. They are a little long, but yeah, they're relevant. So I'll let you read it, and then we can move forward from them.
Yeah. Okay. So I see the question is like, okay, I want to get into DevOps. So this is a common problem, right? And the challenge inherent in this is everyone wants to get into DevOps, but they don't have enough experience, and it's a vicious cycle. Um, there's two really simple answers, but you might not like the answer. The first is, go get a cloud foundation role and get a role with, this is what I tell people from an AWS standpoint, but there are lots of companies out there. Go work with a partner or a customer, get some experience under your belt. We have some great, our support area, networking, troubleshooting, getting onto the basics. They're fantastic. They often they start there, do 1 or 2 years, then move into a DevOps role. So I think it means you might have to do some chess moves first and get some experience under your belt. So um, I think we have to calibrate our expectations to thinking longer term and go, okay, I'm going to do 1 or 2 years because that's my stepping stone into DevOps, right? So we need to really kind of calibrate our expectations there. But the second thing is, um, what are you doing? I've seen some amazing things from like Restart Cruise. I don't know if you're familiar with Restart here. Like, people that are doing 13-week courses, and they're doing the course and they want to go into DevOps. But then while they're doing that course, they've gone and done their own 6-week agile sprint on a DevOps problem solve. And they've, built their own kind of hardware and software solutions and apps and done all this cool stuff. They're doing all this stuff on the side all the time. And they're not doing it for a job. They're just doing it as an experiment or a personal passion project. I have seen that also open doors into sort of a much more entry level DevOps role that then's led on to some career. So you're going to have something to show to solve the problem. So if you haven't got the experience, you're going to have to show how you've done it offline or in your own time. But generally, I think my first answer is the better one, of just take some stepping stones and set some goals and map out what is the ideal stepping stone, into that ideal career that I'm looking to find.
Yep, I
Ashish, do
agree
you have
with
any advice on that? Maybe you've got better tips than me on that one.
Means no, that is a logical path, Les. Means whatever you are said, like it's completely logical. If I'm hiring and I feel that, hey, person is good developer but not very specifically DevOps, then I would look for
Mm,
that profile at very last stage. If I'm not finding anyone, I won't be directly looking into that. So
yeah.
those stepping stone, or at least giving me idea, like, okay, maybe not developer, not DevOps, but okay, they have a Kubernetes certification, or maybe they have attended a workshop, or they have completed a workshop or something. So that would I would look like if I'm interviewing that person.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they also have a lot of cool internships as well now. If you're willing, you might need to take a little bit of a step back, right? One of the hottest trends is sort of later in life or career switching internships, right? That's a whole thing. Why not? If it gets you to your passion, sometimes you have to take a risk.
Yeah, I agree. That the saying says that you have to sometimes step back if you want to jump very forward. So yeah, that's the same
Yeah.
thing. I'll take one more question here. And then I'll then have my final question. So what I noticed that I have got engaging conversation with recruiter. It felt like I'm getting my interview schedule with hiring manager. However, it never happened. Any clue why? Any advice?
So interesting. It's hard. I can't pinpoint, right? Obviously, I'm not going to know that scenario, that situation. It could be many things. It could be that they really liked you and was like, this is a great person. But at the end of the day, I've got these key core skills that I have to hire for. And there might have been other candidates in the mix that had a closer fit to the job description. And so they progressed with those candidates. I'm hoping the recruiter was at least nice to you. It sounds like they weren't, because really the recruiter should come back. So my first thing would be, I would say, hey, I just, I really felt we had a connection. I was really hoping to meet the hiring manager. Was there any reason or feedback you can give me on why I didn't progress to my interview? I would ask that question of my recruiter. It's happened to me in the past, and I was like that, and it was really interesting because it was like, oh yeah, you're definitely going forward, and then I just didn't hear anything, and I kept saying, oh, is it happening? Is it happening? Oh no, they're just busy. But then, the other thing that can sometimes happen is hiring manager priorities change, or they shift headcount, or someone moves internally and then they no longer have that
Hmm.
recruitment. This happens a lot too. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's personal to you. That's said, it's still really disappointing and frustrating. But my advice is to be bold and to ask why, and to think of a long-term relationship. So I might even find out who the hiring manager is, because I'm a bold gal, and I'd write them and say, I was really excited about this job. I wasn't able to come to you this time, but I'd like to keep in touch with you because you're someone I really want to work with, and here's why I think it would be valuable connecting with me, right? Here's what I can offer you. I can solve this problem for you in the future. And I would, I've done that. I've definitely done that in my first boss at Amazon. I reached out to them and said, I said I've always respected them. I knew them from when I was in Singapore, because I lived all over the world. And I said, I'm coming back to Asia from Europe. I'd love to work in your team, and this is what I can offer you if you have anything open. And that's how I got my job at Amazon, because I just showed respect and how I could solve the problem. So I think it's worth being proactive. But just remember, you may experience that rejection, that hiring manager might not want to engage with you, or you might not progress, but it's still worthy for you to keep practicing that skill set of going after what you want, asking questions, trying to get as much feedback as you can.
Yeah, feedback is important. Thank you, Liz. Now
Hope that helps.
I'd like to ask final question, and that is
Sure.
from my side, and that is of, is there any something like cool off period or previous interview history impact?
Are you speaking for AWS or just
Yeah.
generally? Yeah,
Is
I mean,
AWS specific? Like, because a lot of people say, hey, I applied, 6 months is not there. Should I apply again? Or I failed one interview. What impact it would have?
yeah. We hire people who fail interviews and succeed second, third, fourth, fifth time around all the time, and same happens at Google. Like, it's tough to join these companies. We have a high bar. So I think everyone loves to kind of revisit candidates. We have a whole section on sourcing revisit candidates from the past that kind of maybe got to on-site and did a good job but didn't quite cross the line. Hey, let's revisit that candidate, right? So absolutely. The timing varies, and it will vary on your experience. And sometimes, you know, the feedback will be, let's revisit that person in 6 months. So 6 months tends to be the general feedback I hear at Amazon. Like, yeah, 6 to 12 months, let's bring them back in. Let's keep in touch. That person's worth revisiting. And what that usually means is that in that 6 to 12 months, you might just get a little bit more depth of experience, or a little bit more breadth of tech experience that can round you out for the role that we were recruiting for. And we can keep in touch in case something else comes off. So there's not an absolute cool off period like that. Oh, it must be, that's enforced like a legality. I think it's high value judgment, which we prize so highly here at Amazon. Is just like, yeah, just think maybe we'll keep in touch with that person. They might need this just a little bit more skills. They might need a certification here, or often with a solution architecture, they often need more customer experience, and that's the challenge. Is they've got the tech side potentially, but they don't have as much exposure to the customer, and so we're so customer driven. We need that, or they might not have the we look for tech depth and breadth, right? So there might be some balancing out that needs to happen. So that can be 6-12 months. Sometimes it might be a little longer. Sometimes it might be shorter. So hard to say. Um, in terms of previous interview history impact, it really depends. Like, I would say for the most part, we revisit a lot of candidates. Um, people do get better. Interviewing is a skill, and they might not have
Yeah.
shown themselves in the best light. So I don't think that we're in any way punitive. We're absolutely happy to revisit. But there might be some situations where it's just not a fit for both sides, where we think, it's probably not worth revisiting from a culture standpoint. And they might, there's a role for everyone. They might be more suited to a culture at another organization.
Absolutely answers the question. So I'll stop here. We are already over time, and I know it's very late for you. It's very late for you. It's 2 p.m. now, 2 a.m. I think right now, 2:15, 2:30 for you.
All
So,
right.
but thank you so much, Liz. It was
Thank you.
so interesting and inspiring, plus informative to know about all the stuff. And these like some small tips. You never know like who would get benefited by one small tip you have shared. So I hope people would be appreciating your time and will be working on the things. And probably you have more LinkedIn followers now. So
Well, I have a challenge. Like, practice what I've taught you, and you should all be connecting with me on LinkedIn, right? Come and pitch to me, practice on me. Um, Happy to be the guinea pig for your reach outs.
That's so nice of you. Thank you, Liz,
Thanks,
and we
Ashish.
hope to have you again and enjoy your time and have a good weekend. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Ashish. Bye.
Bye. Uh, Besa participant, we'll take a short 5 minute break and then we'll have Jamila and Kasip with us who will talk about startup. But hope you have got a lot of insight. And if you have any questions, comments, keep them coming. We are collecting feedback for the next sessions also. So we'll talk to you in 5 minutes. So let me add the screen of timer and then we will start again. 5 minutes and we start again. Thank you. All right, welcome back everyone, and let me add Nisab and Jamila to the stream. You've been long awaited, both of you. We've been missing you from the sessions. Thanks for being again here.
Thank you, Ashish. Yes, I've been quite busy in the past couple of weeks, but I'm so happy to be back, to be on air, and with our participants. It is a
Yeah,
pleasure.
Nice.
How about you?
yeah. Hey, Ashish, hey, Jamila. I would like to say that I've been busy, but for the first couple of weeks of April, I was on holiday, so that I have no excuse. But I'm super excited to be back, and Ashish, I cannot be thankful enough for you to give us, this time and space in the Beza program to just chat about startups because this is what we're really
Yeah, I mean, startup is like, why not? Like, there are a lot of buzz things around happening. People have incredible ideas, and you people help them in materializing those ideas or getting them into action. So it's good to hear from you. So I would like to talk about that, and but I have a question just to set context here. Like, how you say what is a startup? I personally have an idea. Would I call myself as a startup? Or is there a specific definition AWS looks for how a startup is formulated, or what are some basic characteristics you look into a startup?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. And I guess it did really the definition of a startup varies according to the stages that we categorize them in. So, for example, sorry for those who don't know me on the stream, I'm a solutions architect, and I've been with AWS for almost 4 years. In the last year or so, I focused on working with early stage startups. So for me, I focus on really top of the funnel activities, which involve companies that are very early in their stage of development. So it could be I'm working with just a couple of technical founders or like business founders, and they're looking their way into building a technical strategy. And so for me is anybody who's like probably a company that was funded by less than 2 years, they're still like in seeding stage or pre major seeding. I would say sometimes I work with founders who just bootstrap their startup with their own um, package
Own money.
of money, or like their funding, or
Yeah.
like they're into like credits. So that is my perspective, and there are so many of them. But I guess that when you get to a more mature stage, the definition of startup changes according to the engagement that they have with AWS as well. Jamila, anything from your side? Because yeah, I know that
Yeah.
you work with more mature customers.
Yes, exactly. That's an interesting question, Ashish, because that's what I was also thinking to open up this conversation on what is actually startup. So if we read basically from Wikipedia or from any other sources, um, startups meaning you have an idea, which is innovative, which will hopefully disrupt the market and the way we are doing things, which will be completely different and transformed. It means not necessarily you have customers and you have revenue or traction of revenue that you are successful, but at least you have proven with your background or with your with founders and technical founders to see that you have the skill set or you have that eagerness to acquire those skill sets, and you believe in your vision and idea to make that happen. So in early stage startups in AWS that we are working, we have like lots of them. So I don't want to say numbers, it's probably confidential, but we have lots of them. And how we actually cherry pick them or how we actually start building relationships and developing them is also looking at how people are willing to go extra mile, what services they're using, what are the opportunities they're looking for, and where we can come and unlock them. So if the person, for example, we connect and says, oh, I have this problem, just fix it for me, well, we can fix it for sure,
Hmm.
but is it sustainable? Like, we provide a solution, and then how this person can take it and make it bigger, better by themselves. If we see that potential and if we see that eagerness from founders, from CTOs, from the startups team, we are doubling down and we're trying to help. We help them and then we leave them somehow alone, meaning we give them space to implement, and they're moving fast, so we don't have to kind of chase them. So within a week or two, things might dramatically change, and they can come back to us that, hey, we did this, these are the results, what are your thoughts, what are the follow-ups we need to do. In that case, we are kind of the solutions architects. We come and support further. Within my territory that I'm working as a solutions architect with startups, I have more engaged customers, meaning not like conversationally engaged, which is the case as well, but also like they're a little bit more mature, probably Series A, later stage of seed. They have a little bit of traction. They have their customer base. They know what they're doing. Like the stage that they're in, they want to probably scale. I have a couple of customers that are scaling across different geos. They're trying to find a product market fit in the new geo, and what are the specific services that can unlock and help them during their scale up. And alongside of these customers, I do really enjoy working with early stage, like we call it them greenfield, that are, they have an idea or they want to build an MVP, they believe in it, but they don't know how to start. And in this session, we will cover with Giuseppe what are the resources and how we can actually help them at scale, because we cannot talk to millions of people, right? We physically cannot, but we have tools and techniques in place which can help them to achieve their goals.
Yeah, and another detail that I would add there is the fact that we have capillary, like geographic presence. So myself and Jamila, we're part of the UK and Ireland team, but we have let's say correspondents or like similar roles into other geos. And again, we have resources that are also tailored to those specific markets, because we have seen that even across Europe there are some fundamental differences in the type of entrepreneurs that come to us, and they're pitching their ideas and they want to build on top of the AWS. What I see in the early stage, for example, is that I think we see like a bimodal distribution of customers. We have customers that have built their businesses over and over again. They've been battle tested by the market. They are very savvy and deeply verticalized in their field of expertise, but maybe they don't have enough visibility on what the cloud ecosystem is, and so they come to us with very specific pain points, and they would like us to help them progress with the development of a particular business case in their business. And on the other hand, we have people who probably like solopreneurs or like a small group of entrepreneurs that put together resources, and not only they're asking us for advice about how to build their technological strategy on AWS, but also they can benefit from the learnings that we had as the huge business that we are. I mean, we as well as a business, I wasn't there. I was only 7 years old when Amazon started, but we started in a garage. We started with the mindset of a startup. We tried to over-index in the idea of always focusing on day one and the potential for growth that all of the ideas we have. We've tried to encode that into our leadership principle, and I think it's a day-to-day challenge to adhere to them, because they're always challenging us back, right? Even if you try to stick to them as much as possible. So I guess that this is the kind of philosophy that we get when we think of startup. Like we would like to see ourselves as founders, and we try to put ourselves into the shoes of founders every day, and we try to shift our customer obsession even from the perspective of like different geographies and like what do their market look like. And as you know, we're moving today in a very volatile market, so that also poses us very specific challenges that maybe enterprise customers are. Enterprise customer may be weathering better the macroeconomic conditions that we're observing today. So there is definitely a specific interest in and a specific dedication of resources to build tools and mechanisms and platforms for startups to build and thrive on AWS.
Nice, good, thank you. So I took like a lot of time to get some understanding, but yeah, I think it was important. Now I'll hand it over to you. Let me know if you want to present something or you want to walk us through something, so I can share screen.
Sure. So I guess that Jamila, can I say that we didn't really prepare like a fully fledged speech?
Sure.
This is how we kind of try to do things in startups. Like we are scrappy. We know that we must change and change really quickly. So first of all, I would invite the audience, if you have any question, just feel free to float us with questions. That would be the first recommendation. And then the second thing that I wanted to discuss to you, Jamila, you've been working with more engaged customer, more mature customers. But I guess that every startup or like every business opportunity starts with a good pitch. And I know that you've been involved into an initiative that we are sponsoring as AWS to basically help solopreneurs or small groups of entrepreneurs to build a pitch with a punch. Do you have any characteristic that we could share with the rest of the audience today?
Sure. Thank you, Giuseppe. For sure, like it's really interesting to see and to be able to attend into those kind of in these events where you see kind of passion, hunger, kind of the energy of people who really believe into their ideas, and some of them are really cool ideas. And I do believe that if they start building that product, it will change the things, or it will make things better than what we are used to see. Main kind of trend I've seen across this kind of during these pitch events and kind of the early stage, like people when they're starting to put together something and build something valuable, is that they focus a lot on Ashish, can you please bring us all back? I don't
Yeah,
want to myself.
I'm doing it just a minute.
It feels odd that I will be talking to us. Thank you.
No, I was experimenting.
Exactly, yeah. That's all right. Thank you. So the main thing that I would recommend from, I don't know, probably personal perspective as well, like they focus too much on how cool their product or their idea and their vision is, which is great. You shouldn't be neglecting that part. But what you should be focusing at the beginning as well, what is the problem you're solving? What is the question? Like, what is the data point? For example, if it's related to medical things, like, oh, we invented, for example, mattress or a pillow, which will help with, I don't know, mental health or with eczema or any other issues, right? It's cool that you have mattress or a pillow in place, right? You show the numbers that how much it will cost. You did all this analysis, which is great, but why? Like, what is the problem you're solving? Why these people are not going to therapists or friends, or I don't know, like to address their mental health issues, or why they're not going to doctors and healing their eczema issues? Why do you think the mattress or the pillow is the thing that they should be using to solve their problem? Like, can you address that problem, and can you show me the gap that currently is in the market, and it's not being addressed for whatsoever reason? If you have the reason, please include there too, and then bring in your product that, hey, I know what are the ins and outs, and this is what I'm proposing, and these are the numbers. Then perfect. This was the first question I asked, like, why do you think these people won't be addressing by going to the doctors? And they said, because the treatments are not there yet. Well, can you show me some studies that some people, maybe they went to the doctors, they took some medicine, I don't know, they did something, but it's still not there. Like, show me the percentage, show me the geo, show me the age range, that these are the people usually struggling with these problems, that the medicine in the market or the pills in the market are not targeted for those specific groups. And we are coming here and solving this problem by providing this and that. That could be convincing for me as to kind of evaluating their vision and the product. On the other hand, if it's something related to tech, it will be great to have like scrappy, at least an MVP or even a web page, right? And with Giuseppe, we will discuss as well, what are the resources? Like, you have something in your mind, right, but you don't know where to start. Maybe you don't have even skill set properly to build something from scratch. What do you think, Giuseppe, on MVP side of things?
Well, on the MVP side, I've seen so many examples.
Can you elaborate MVP just in case?
Oh, that's a good
Right?
idea.
Yeah, MVP.
Oh yeah, so MVP stands for a minimum viable product, and
Minimum viable product, okay.
yeah, and this is a concept that we have in product development, and it kind of emphasizes the fact that you are trying to create a product with just like the bare minimum features and the bare minimum attractiveness for every customers, so that you can gather feedback and move on to further development. So I would say that the primary goal of an MVP is to quickly test and validate the core value proposition of your product or a service that you're building out, while also trying to be frugal with the resources that you're spending on it, because you're just testing the waters really. And I guess that I highly resonate with the idea of MVPs, because they're close to a core leadership principle at Amazon, which is customer obsession. At the end of the day, you could have had the best and the most original idea, but at the end of the day, the market and customers will actually guide your intuition into building a product that, looking back, it's going to be absolutely completely different. Maybe it's a completely revolutionized idea of the thing that you actually started with, and so in a way, it really marries well with some of the like the business models that early stage startups are going after, and it really marries well with some technological support that we at AWS, at Amazon, we have built over years and years of experience. For example, like building architectures that can scale really quickly by leveraging serverless offerings, because those really marry well with the idea of, okay, we'll start really small. We'll start with this with a bucket of features which is really frugal, and then I'll guide my intuition, I'll guide my product design by constantly building a feedback loop with my customers, and that's at the core. And this is something that I recommend. I cannot recommend enough to everybody who's actually building a product out there. For example, even before even thinking about writing a line of code, just go out there, go in the market, get an idea of what could be viable for your customers, but close the feedback loop as early as possible, because customer voice is an invaluable resource, and it is at the core of building really successful products. And we had a lot of examples at Amazon, but you can see a lot of examples all over the place. I have some of the customers that I work with are doing excellent job in doing this, and they seek validation from customers. They seek engagement with them, even before actually deploying a resource on an AWS account. They have a large social media presence. They close the feedback loop really early. This is like what I would suggest, and then.
So I have a question here. So
Yeah,
feedback loop you are talking about in the sense like, okay, I have an idea, I have run it through multiple people and I'm collecting feedback and improving it. That's what a feedback loop is.
exactly. So I want to close that as early as possible because um, I could have a fantastic business idea, but if it's not solving a customer problem,
Hmm.
uh, that's going to be useful for you and maybe just a couple of users. But are you really investing that time wisely in building something that does not resonate with the market? And this is part of a philosophy that we have in product development, which is working backwards. So you start with your customer, you start to understand what insights you have about them, and then you move actually forward, trying to putting yourself in their shoes. You ask yourself, what is the prevailing customer problem, or what is the business opportunity that problem underlies, and also there is I say a kind of painful work of going through the data and having I would say back and forth conversation with different group of customers. But at the end of the day, they will drive your intuition, and they will help you build a product that is lovable. And that's the next stage of an MVP, which is an MLP, like the minimum lovable product.
Hmm.
And that is that like a further step that actually really focuses on the end-to-end experience of the user, and that is something that you should focus once you have built a community, once you've built your audience, and once you have uh, a like some actionable kind of product. I would say so.
There
This,
is.
this is where I stand.
Thank you, Giuseppe. I hope it answers your question, Ashish. Was
Yeah, it completely answers it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. There is a question in the chat. Based on the earlier session today, what, in your opinion, will be the best strategy to get AWS architecture internship opportunities, especially in the sort of area that you and Giuseppe are in? I'd like to address this because my answer then will kind of pass over to Giuseppe and to our next kind of section of the topic that we want to cover. First of all, it's great that you already have something in your mind, that you already know what you want to do and the steps you need to complete, meaning that you're looking for internship opportunities or for other opportunities. I would highly recommend looking for, so I don't know who is this person, what is the stage of your career. So I'm just going to throw out some generalizations. So we have a program called TechU, which hires students or like grads people to AWS. They train them there for a specific amount of time, and then these people are being allocated to the teams respectively. Currently in our team, in solutions architecture, working with startups, that in our team and in our org, we have a couple of people that are TechU grads. So they graduated from TechU program. Yes, thank you. They graduate from TechU program, and they are starting to work as solutions architect as myself, as Giuseppe, in the same team, and having a mentorship from senior SAs and management as well. So depending, of course, on your career, there are different programs. As Liz mentioned as well in an earlier session, that you can, if you know what you want to do specifically and what type of customers you want to work and in which industry, you can go and work for those customers that are using AWS as well, which will probably help you later down the line move to AWS and work with those specific customers while being in AWS. So I would say it's not like one way door decision, like you make a decision and then there is no way back. It's a two-way door decision. Either you go with programs, you take internship in AWS, or you go work with partners or customers, this segment that you're really interested, let's say startups. And then later down the line, if you still want to make a move to AWS and work in AWS, then you can kind of move back or move to AWS and work with those customers as well. This is also an option. Another option I was thinking is that if you're looking for an internship opportunities, meaning probably you are somehow early in your career, or you want to upskill or get some hands-on experience on something, or specifically like AWS and architecture, then we have something exciting coming up with which I want Giuseppe to kind of highlight on that, like the Twitch stream that you can and anyone else can basically join and see how to build a startup on AWS. So Giuseppe, over to you to give some information on
Oh yeah.
Let's Build a Startup, which will be focused not only for startups, right? Also for people who can actually get some learnings and apply it to their day-to-day life, upskill themselves, and probably they will be able also to build a startup, right?
Yeah, and I know that like the Beta program was thought with the idea of helping you becoming a solutions architect, but the skill set that a solutions architect has is really versatile, and it really helps you building a tech career in general. And for those of you who may be interested in not going and working for like an employer, but actually building their own business, I think it's again, AWS provides a lot of resources. One of the things that we're trying to do, and for us it's a huge experiment, and hopefully it's going to go well, but it's this let's call it a startup summer camp that we're going to run between June and July. We are focusing on the idea of like how to help and how to enable you to build an MVP. So we're going to have a look at the services that we have seen used across a large number of startups to actually get to the market, test the waters with a technological product as soon as possible and as frugally as possible. So we'll have a look at not only like the let's say the most cost-effective way of building onto AWS and the most secure way of building onto AWS, but also all of the resources that you have available. We'll go through it today, probably in the next 10 minutes. But yeah, we're gonna start on June the 8th at 9 a.m. BST time. And for 2 weeks, we're going to go through topics like how do I deploy my first web application on AWS? Like one of the challenges that we've seen customers struggling with is, oh yeah, I have this application, but like now I have to add authentication, and I don't want to cause friction in my customer funnel. So like, how can I do social authentication with it, for example? And we have a very quick way to get you there. It's really quick and easy to get started. Where you can find is so the let me just put a link into the chat, and this is just basically the official AWS channel on Twitch, which is twitch.tv.
And we will put that link into our resources section. So for people who are watching after this on YouTube, they should also be able to get it. So this is the channel which is just there. Details we will be sharing, and then timing and all you could check from there. So that could be a good interesting thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
nice.
And so the kind of topic that we're gonna cover, they will span all over from like, deploy my first web application all the way down to like infuse AI and ML, build a personalized experience, but also we'll touch upon generative AI, which we've seen that this is a huge topic right now, and it can open up a lot of business opportunities if you're interested in taking the entrepreneurial road. So yeah, I guess this is something that we're putting a lot of effort in. We would like to have your feedback, and if this works, we would like to repeat this in the future by providing updates on available services, and always sharpening our intuition for building as quickly as possible and as frugal as possible. So Ashish, thanks for having us here today. And oh yeah, fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you very much for sharing, Ashish, and Parna, especially for all these details. She is a hero working behind the scene as always. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I'd like to read out loud Parna's question in the chat. Did you ever have to work with any startup idea which was not technically viable on AWS, and how did you approach it?
This is a very interesting question. So in my experience, also as a former founder, the technicality of a startup is not really the main problem here, unless you like, I don't know, you're trying to virtualize a brain or my consciousness.
Yeah,
on
telekinesis.
cloud. Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to do that, it will be really interesting to talk with you. That's a dream of mine. But maybe you want to start by taking a step back and see, why, or like what is the actual challenge that you're facing there, and is that the technology really the main blocker? Because for a lot of founders, technology is just a mean to an end, right? It's just how articulate a system I have to build to actually take me from A to B, and usually that A to B is their business idea. So like, how can I build a viable system? Sometimes it's not. The problem is not technological. Sometimes it's related to the resources that you would have to put in place. In terms of how large your development team is going to be, or the sheer amount of money that you probably have to invest. Let's say if you wanted to start today to train like an LLM, a large language model, that was probably going to take you billions of dollars to do that. So I've hardly seen that the main blocker is technological, because you can throw people like us into the mix, and we'll try to find the best solution for that. And again, it's also rescoping your problem so that we can work backwards from it and find the best solution. So maybe you're trying to tackle too much at the same time, and maybe you want to zoom in into a particular business problem or a particular business domain that you want to tackle, and basically, again, thinking of working backwards. You want to go from A to B, and then you start building a roadmap of all of the steps, or all the pieces of puzzles that you have to put together. I've seen many customers actually taking this approach and becoming serial entrepreneurs, because they had a huge idea in mind, but to get from A to B, they had to take several steps, and one of those steps was actually, let's build a startup that actually tackles that exact piece of the puzzle, and then they build an ecosystem around that. So in a nutshell, technology is rarely the issue. It's more about like how you frame your business problem so that it can be solved with technology.
Thank you. Thank you, Giuseppe. I think you answered perfectly well, that I don't have anything to add, but rather I'd like to focus on another question, which says, hi, is there any trial process? Is there any trial process for these startups? Well, meaning, if I can take this question, what do you mean by trial process? Like, we don't look at, we're going to work with you, and then what happens, like, we don't put any specific timeline as solutions architects from AWS that there's like a trialing process for these startups. We do work with everyone. Yeah, we do have like segmentations, like early stage startups, a little bit mature startups, super mature startups. So we have kind of segmentations, but we don't put any trial process for these startups, if I understood your question correctly. On the other hand, what we also have, like, if you have an idea and you want to build it on AWS, there are resources. Like, I understand, not so like people can think, it might be expensive. Like, I'm trying to build my company. I don't have funding yet. I'm maybe bootstrapping. How AWS can help me with that? For that, we have programs like Activate. You basically submit your ideas, your details, meaning your what you are trying to build, and then credits hopefully will be granted based on the specific criteria of Activate program. Like AWS free trial resources to test.
Yeah, means that he explained the question. So Tom explained the question like, okay, so trial period in the sense, will AWS give me some resources to test my technical viable solution?
Yes. If you share my screen, I have a few things to show you.
Go ahead. I'll add screen.
Yeah, I'll add the screen. Sounds good. So Jamil, I think you were alluding to the Activate console, right?
Activate
This is the
console for sure.
first. Let me grab a link here. Whoop, and I'll put it down in the chat box. Whoop. Sorry, my laptop is starting to take off. So the first thing is I would highly recommend you to have a look at the AWS Activate console. It is in your AWS account, and it is, I would say, like an automatic dashboard for resources that are mostly relevant to you, and so that's the first step. The second step is that we have credits, AWS credits offering on top of the free tier, which is I would say already really comprehensive when you first create your AWS account. So you have 3 hours of compute, you have 3 hours of usage of databases. You can build, I would say, a minimal viable product closely to zero. I've done this in the past, and again, the technology wasn't really the problem. So if you say, okay, a serverless approach, you have millions of invocations for free every month of Lambda functions. So that is also a way that you can think about this. But then, if you have an idea and you want to test the waters, we have a package of credit that is called oh my god, I forgot about this. It is a bootstrap. So it's around $1,000 in credits for your AWS resources, and also for business support. And that's one of the things. But then, if you are really serious about this and you're taking your ideas to accelerators, we can get you up to $100,000 in credits. With that requires a bit more of due diligence. But the customers I work with, they are generally working on credits, so that really gives you a good let's say substrata of resources to start building.
Sorry, Giuseppe, I'd like to add a quick point that in Activate console, if I'm not mistaken, there are also templates of solutions that you can go and deploy immediately in your account, and then see actually how things are working together, how they're tied together. What would you want to take from that solution and implement on your own environment for your own startup? So it's not like a blank space where we throw money out of it and just say go build. It's not like that, and but rather to kind of help customers to actually start building and kind of invest in their potential and in their ideas, rather than just kind of sucking their energy out and just saying, hey, just go and build, figure out yourself. So yeah. Activate console, is one of my go-to resources that I recommend early stage customers as well.
Yeah, and I'll jump on a consideration that you made, which is sometimes money is the problem, but in other times even most valuable resource is knowledge, and having a different opinion, seeking the right perspective. And to do this, I would recommend to actually root down to the AWS Startup Loft. And the reason for that, the main reason for that is actually because, well, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of events that are tailored to startups. They're all free to join. They're both virtual and in real life, in person. And also we have a resource library for all of the past events that you may want to review. We are both on the technical and the business side, but probably one of the most interesting resources that we have here is the Ask an Expert feature. This is where you can book your one-to-one meeting with one of us. I publish slots here monthly. Jamila, I know you do that too. But you see, we for the next calendar month, you have every day available here. For example, we have not only AWS experts, but we also have experts coming from partners. So if you have a specific issue, like for example, I don't know, with machine learning, let me see. So you have machine learning engineers that you could pick their brains, and this is again absolutely for free. you can book into into a session. We also have experts who, like myself, I'm bilingual. I speak Italian as well. So I mean, depending on your background. So we have a lot of resources there. And again, knowledge is probably something that is really important in early stages. Other stuff, I think that what I recommend the most to my customers is to actually run AWS workshops on their own, maybe on their AWS account. And it's likely that you can do that with little expense or within the free tier. So this, like, I think workshops are probably the most valuable resources, because it's like a step-by-step guide to get you started on a particular service, or like actually achieve a business outcome. So for example, this one that I get here, how to build your first CRUD API in 45 minutes or less. And that is being built by very smart people at AWS, experts in the field. So you're sure that you will be building on top of the best practices there. Anything else that I forgot, Jamie?
I wanted to add that recently we have added into Startup Loft about a Startup Academy. And what we're trying to do there, last time I was presenting, is we don't want to, like, we want to focus on customer problem first and work backwards, and we want to implement it kind of as a webinar and work together, and like kind of work together with solutions architects and show the customer problem, how we are solving it, kind of, and working backwards. So one of the sessions I delivered last time was AWS Startup Academy, choosing the right database for your startup. So we discussed the problem, and then it was like a conversational. We had like a technical demo, we had an architecture review, and we were not just kind of talking about all the databases that out there on AWS, but rather talking about what was the problem and why XYZ databases will fit the customer's need, or based on the specific problem they are experiencing. So it also we also gave like a glimpse of how we are working, the way of our work. So like, we just don't go to customer meeting and just say, hey, we're so cool, we have X amount of databases that you need to use, right? We don't work like that. And I think this will be also a good kind of opportunity for you to build your kind of resume, your portfolio of the way you're working. If you're working currently with customers, try to exercise that with your customers. Like, try to first focus on their problem and work backwards, and use this as a stepping stone for your next big gig, right? Use this as a scenario to talk during your interview for the next job opportunities. And don't hesitate to share with the interviewer that you learned from BESA program, or from you watched the YouTube video. It shows your learn and be curiosity, right? It shows that you are open, you're out there, you know what's happening in the world, you are up to date, and you're not just throwing the words out there, but you actually take it, implement it, you improve something within your current company, within your current skill set, and you progress. I think this is also important for your career.
Sounds great. I think the last nugget I wanted to share, it's not just a like a learning resource, but actually some insights that I got from customers working with them, and how they're actually got really quickly into a monetization path. So I've seen customers extremely happy to launch their ideas and their startup on the AWS marketplace. So this is one of the customers that I worked with. They have launched their product, their API, onto the AWS marketplace really quickly. I think we had a turnout of 15 days or something like that. And they're basically.
Can you zoom in a little bit so that we could see it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this is way too much.
Yeah.
Important.
Okay. Yeah, that's better.
I wanted to give an idea of what the AWS Marketplace actually is, and how I've seen startups making use of it to actually advertise their software, and also, like, I would say, streamlining the path from acquiring customers and actually billing on their AWS account. This really streamlines procurement for larger customers. It simplifies the management of invoicing and stuff like that, and also the management of your end customers. So this is one option that I've seen adopted by startups over and over and over again, because it's really popular. It's really easy to get started, and it's really it's the shortest path to, I have a product, I want to match it with a market, and this is how I am monetizing on top of it. This is one alternative, and you can sell on the marketplace like anything from a customized image of a virtual machine, all the way up to your APIs or your machine learning models, or even, for example, a data set. So another customer of mine that I work with, they have data sets which are including data that could be really interesting for some kind of businesses, and they've published I think 13 or 26 data sets in just a couple, I would say just a couple of hours, because their data set was validated as well, but they were looking for outlets where to put this data. And data is extremely valuable for a lot of companies, because the idea is that you're building, you might want to train your machine learning models onto specialized data sets, and this is absolutely invaluable for them. So yeah, I guess that's if you're searching for business opportunities, this is probably one of the routes that I would go through. Anything else that I forgot, Jamie?
I think all good from my side, and I think we covered all the important points. If there's anything else, okay, Ashish, could you please share the link for
I
the
have a
Bessa
question.
resource?
I have
Sure.
a question on solution architecting side. So if I'm an enterprise solution architect, or if I'm a startup solution architect, do I need different skill sets?
Jamie, well, I don't know. Can you take that? We've both been enterprise solutions architect before.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
I'll leave the floor to you.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it depends. Like, it depends on your interest. Like, if you're really, I know it's a really difficult question. Like, it depends on your interest and your skill set, right? The difference with startup solutions, like being a startup solutions architect, is that you have to know all the latest technologies out there. You have to kind of get yourself out there probably more often, meaning, for example, like generative AI popped up and you have to be up to date in the market. What are the resources, how we can help our customers, and what are the services we're using, what are the new features. Like, all the time you need to kind of learn, and not just learning for the sake of learning, but also thinking from customer shoes, like how I'm going to help my customers with these kind of features, services, as well. For enterprise, I guess it's less so. I don't want to kind of diminish or say anything negative, but just kind of, it depends also the pace. For enterprise customers, probably there are like specific areas that you need to know, like really, really in depth, and all these new things popping up, you can kind of learn along the way, but probably won't require you to kind of change your direction and the focus area often based on what is popping up new out there. I know this is my 2 cents. Giuseppe, feel free to chip in.
I think you gave a great overview. I would say that sometimes with enterprise customers, it might be a little bit more difficult to see the impact you're making there, simply because you're dealing with a larger beast. But that's not always the case, because maybe you are lucky enough to work with with enterprise customers that have R&D teams, and they're looking after building something which really needs to be delivered as quickly as possible. So it's really a big a mixed bag. But I would say that maybe with startup you can afford to be a little bit more casual when it comes to like interacting with them. Startups maybe with enterprise customers, maybe you want to be a bit more like classically professional. Let's put it that way. And also like your style of communication can change a lot, because when you're dealing with founders of startups, they might be again more easygoing, but like if you have to deliver a presentation to like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, maybe you want to not even have like a hoodie like I have always, right? So that's the thing. It really it really depends, and again every customer is different. The type of relationship that you're going to develop there is different, and I think it is the job of a solutions architect to build a lasting relationship that is actually putting a customer at their ease, so that you can build that sense of like business intimacy with them. That's probably what I would recommend to newer solutions architects approaching this different type of customers.
Thank you, Giuseppe.
Thank you.
And this was the last session, right, of this cohort?
Yeah, I have one more question, but I have one more question on the same side. Okay,
Alright.
so if I'm looking to get hired into these startups, are there any specific places which I should look for, or LinkedIn is the place?
Also, I think that if you want, what really matters the most when you want to be hired as part of a startup is the passion you have for the specific business problem that they're solving. So like my advice there would be, look, research the field, like go to Y Combinator, find out what are the hottest startups that resonate with the passion that you have. So one of the first startups that I worked with was whose goal was actually to deliver mental health services to people online, right? So I'm really into that space. I'm really into mindfulness, and so that was really I would say a calling for me, and I decided to work with them. I approached the founders, and like I made a really strong case to say, hey, I actually want to work on this because this really highly resonates with my passion. So like get there, get on Y Combinator, find out something that highly resonates with you and with your own passions. I mean, technology is one of my passion, but it's not the only one. So like I love like combining those two in my day-to-day job. Reach out, make a strong case. While it's true that you might not have the full skill set to deliver for them, but who actually has it, right? Things are becoming increasingly complex, and now developers are asked to being able to build a web application all the way down to integrate AI and ML and generative AI into like a normal workflow. And the skill set that is required to do all of this is absolutely massive. So what I think it matters the most is like the passion you have for that specific business problem, and think it more as a product manager rather than a developer. You will develop your skill set to actually deliver if you're passionate about the business you're building.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see Prasad in the chat. Prasad,
Yeah, Prasad is here. I'll add him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
And
is a last call, and if you have anything else to add, Giuseppe and Jamila, let me know or speak up. Or
Okay.
people, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into chat. We are happy to answer as many as we can. And yeah, let's see. Let me add Prasad to the stream.
Prasad, hello.
Hello everyone. Wow, this was really a good talk. Thanks Jamila and Giuseppe for that.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for. You don't need any preparation, man. Come on, you're naturals, Yeah, it's
So
great.
good.
Like I'm learning so much about startups. So
Yeah,
back,
and
around probably before a decade before tried doing my own startup, and long before, AWS. Now I know that AWS was there at that time, but I was not aware of AWS at that time at all. Uh, but it got busted in 6 months or so, and I had to come back to a full-time job. But now when I see these kinds of resources available now, then probably this is the time when all of, everyone who is interested in startups, it's so easy for them to bootstrap, both in terms of technology perspective, even from
mhm.
idea perspective and everything. It's a great time to be in that we are right now.
Yeah.
And then you have support from awesome folks like Jamila and Giuseppe to help you succeed.
Thank
Good.
you.
I want to take one question from the audience, and it is very relevant, I feel so. So let me
Sorry,
put that
sorry,
on the
Ashish. Before you
screen.
take your question, can we add Parna as well to the stream? She's
She
been
is
in
coming.
well.
She's joining in
Yeah.
a minute.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So question is, I will be working on IaaS part to get SA job. Do I need to get serverless or need to get more experience in IaaS as well? Where is the inclination of startups? Do they use serverless more, or they do go with the traditional EC2 RDS kind of a stuff?
Let's first probably open up what is IaaS, infrastructure as a service, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Just to have a good.
I have a caveat for that question, which is it depends on the stage of the startup. Like we're saying, like, are they building an MVP? Like, is your focus like, we need to go to the market, we need to test the waters, we need to understand if these ideas is actually valuable? Then probably I would suggest customers to look into serverless solutions because they really marry well with the business model that you're trying to boot up. Um, mm, until probably you're 100 users, you will remain into the AWS free tier, or you probably start eroding into your credits. But let's say that serverless technologies allow you to build a business model that would scale with your usage. So you're not investing from the get-go. You don't have to put like a loads of money into like procuring yourself a server, like build buying software and stuff like that. Once you start scaling up, then it's time to actually start looking into your long-term strategy. And I would say that you will probably end up dealing more with like traditional IT topics, such as, oh, I want to build this on a containerized platform. I want to have like a large relational database. Maybe if you need it, that's not the case always. And we see customers consistently shifting from the traditional idea of having everything into one database to like having databases that are built for purpose. So I would say depends on the grade of maturity that of the business that you're dealing with. So I would research that business. I would ask your hiring manager at what stage of development you are. What are the major blockers here? What is the roadmap in the next 6 months or the next year? Where do you want to be? And that will tell you a bit more about working backwards from the needs of the business. You will understand in which kind of field to specialize. If that makes sense, I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
I,
sense. So yeah, I would say it depends. So that is what solution architect should be answering most questions with. As I said in my first station, it depends. So yeah, there are a lot of factors. It's not always like black and white answer. There is a lot of gray areas to cover. So yeah, best answer would be depends. Thank you. All right. And I led Perna also to stream. So we are missing James and some other people. But yeah, this has been interesting 12 weeks, and I couldn't like realize that we just completed 12 weeks. I feel like we just started the session, and we are not stopping. We are pausing. We will be like introspecting and collecting feedback from you all, like we what we could do to make things better. And let me talk to each of them, Prasad, Kasipi, Parna, Jamila, how you felt. For me, I will start first. I was elated to handle these sessions. Means technical perspective, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of behavioral things, and we had interesting guest speaker. And this coordination between all of it, even our session went to like 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 3.5 hours, and people were still stick to it. So that was so humbling, I would say. So it was a really humbling experience for me. How about others?
I can go next. It's been an amazing ride, to be honest. Like it's now, like I see it's batch 3. It's written there, and I cannot believe, like, oh my god, time flies. It is really humbling experience to join the sessions, to deliver. I learned a lot during this whole time, and our guest speakers been amazing, and the whole team, to be honest. Like how we are supporting each other during our good and bad times is just unbelievable, especially when we get busy. I remember a couple of days ago, Parna messaged me internally on Slack and just checking on me. It literally made my eyes like teary, like, oh my god, like I didn't join a couple of sessions, I was busy dealing with some other things, and there are actually people who noticed it and who is pinging. And Prasad is the same. Like he saw my Slack kind of status that I'm in the office, and he's pinging, I'm in the office too, let's grab coffee. And other team members too, like with Giuseppe, we're working shoulders to shoulders in the office, Ashish as well. So it's like all the other team members, like we kind of built like a proper community, which is really kind of humbling and really an awesome experience. And I'm just loving to be part of it.
Maybe I'll go next. I made Jamina cry on screen.
A little bit, yes.
All right. So I absolutely love BESA. Everybody knows it. I don't think it's a fact that it's hidden. So yeah, it's season 3. Today's the last day, and it's been awesome, both technically and the kind of guests. And obviously, we've got so many experts in this team. You can see the different kinds of perspective we are getting in. So right from say technical perspective, solution architects, startups, and it's great. All the different guests we had this season, absolutely amazing to hear them as well. And I'm sure all you guys who are still there, you'll come back, get your friends, get your allies, and keep posting, reposting, and let's have a fabulous next session as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, from my perspective, being a guest here has been again a humbling experience. I'm overwhelmed with joy just to see like the type of engagement that we have. It's been really useful for me to like start developing my skills as a public speaker. I know that when I started doing this stuff, it was really challenging for me. So like I guess that the invitation from my side is like never stop like pushing the envelope and like trying to outstep your comfort zone, because only good things come out of it. And I wanted to thank you folks for having me today and in the past few sessions that we've delivered together. It's been really I would say an interesting learning experience that I would love to repeat in the next few sessions.
Thanks. Yeah. So from me, like I have seen this community growing from day one till where we are right now, and there's nothing more that I can add. What others have spoken, it's been really humbling experience. And that we think about from where we started to where we are now. It's amazing journey, and it's a quite good learning journey also for us. It's it's not just that we are here to help others, but it is also helping us a lot to understand ourselves. But now I would like to look forward. We have a strong 3,000 plus LinkedIn community, and we have this great community. So how we all can help each other to actually scale even further, and find avenues to help more people. So now it's more than important for us to get all the feedback. So feel free to let us know what you would like to see in the future sessions. We should be starting the batch 4 in a while, where we try, in between we will regroup. We'll try and take all the feedback that we had, both positive and critical. We would like to hear any critical feedback that you have, or anything that we can do to improve. One thing definitely that we see is that probably we are not very good in sticking to timings, which is in a good way. We have so many people and we are trying to share more and more that we have. So we think that it will be a 2 hour session, but it generally extends to become a 2.5, 3, and sometimes it even becomes a 3.5 hour session, both positive and negative. But we'll see how, to be respectful of everyone's times. Like we understand it is a weekend, and you are taking out time to like come and join us, and that's why we try and see how we can upload the videos. And thanks Ashish for leading that effort. Uh, in a way, Ashish has been the backbone of all of this. The way he tries and holds us all together in terms of like planning the sessions for next week, ensuring that the stream starts on time, the videos are uploaded on time, the GitHub page is uploaded on time. So kudos to you, Ashish. It would not have been possible without you
It's a
having
team effort. It's a team effort.
Yes, but you have been gluing the team together
Yeah,
a lot. So thank you so
somebody
much.
has to do it, isn't it?
So
Yeah, but
it's it's
it's
a it's
humbling. It's humbling.
yeah, it's a born leadership quality, I would say, that you have. So that how you lead this. So thank you so much. And everyone, for all of us, it's not easy, like having this time commitment of 12 weeks, every weekend, and then during the weekdays to prepare and think about what we need to do. And thanks Parna for like having, inviting different guest speakers. This is really good. And these were, like folks even in the audience, in case if you know anyone who you think would be interested in coming on the show, and whom you think our audience would be, like benefiting when we invite them on the show, and then they'll be sharing their either success story or insights with everyone. So we look forward to having these continued conversations with you all on the LinkedIn group. So feel free to like continue the conversation, not only with us but among each other also. And in case if you're, let's say, studying for your any SA associate certification, just ping on the group. There might be other people on the same journey. So try and create a small group, and that is required even more for professional certifications, because professional certifications are real tough, man. So and even mine is expired, so I need to find somehow time to study again and renew it. But yeah, let's keep this conversation going, and I love the community that we have built. Let's keep it up.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of suggestions there, and keep these suggestions coming. I won't say that we would be able to accommodate everything, but we will be honest in looking into it and seeing how we could address all these things. So we will try our best. Time zone is a challenge. I understand, Deepa, that we experimented with time zone change in batch 2. It worked well for some people, didn't work well for someone else. But yeah, we are open to suggestions. Means, see, we do not know what we could do better unless somebody tells us. So just tell us what we can do. Anything could be, maybe we are having some thoughts, but if you give us idea like where you are struggling, where we could help, and if we have skill set around it, we will try to see that what we can do. So anything, any small idea, and if you are shy, don't want to put it in LinkedIn group, want to reach out independently, feel free, put it on LinkedIn, share it through email, whatever works for you. But yeah, we want to make it a community, not like a one-sided effort, like only anyone is delivering and others are listening. But let's make it community so everyone would get benefit from it. So any idea, small, relevant, irrelevant, complex, easy, or maybe completely out of the box, whatever it is, just bring to us. We will give it a genuine look, and then we'll see how we could improve it. One thing I want to share, like on the screen, I have on, if you go to the page on the BESA, this time we add this. So I was able to put all these links of the previous session who have not attended, like a clickable link. So you do not need to go to individual YouTube sections and search for it. So you should be able to click, okay, what was the agenda for week 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm interested only on those specific topics. So that should is available to you as a handy list. So leverage that also. Previous batch list is playlist is there. We haven't organized in that manner like this one is, but these playlists will give you a good idea on how all these components fit together. And any other suggestion, like what other resources which you could add, what else we could do, so let us know, and we would try to accommodate those things also. So that's how we want to thrive, and we would try to have more inclination towards other programs who are running in AWS who could be beneficial. So we are doing a lot of internal networking inside AWS to see how we could leverage existing platforms like AWS Restart or AWS Reskill or any other thing, so that we could leverage that and bring more resources to you as a BESA community.
Yes, as Ashish mentioned, and there is an internal team with the early talent community, and we will soon be, like we are in talks with that team, and we will soon be posting how you can actually like join that community. There are a few steps to do that, and get some learning badges and stuff. We are collecting all that information, and we'll share that in the LinkedIn group so that you all can do that and join that early talent community, which is worldwide handled by the AWS team, and it will be helping you to access more resources, certification vouchers, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we are trying how all we can collaborate with other teams to scale it more. But in case if you have any ideas uh, or external groups that you are aware of with whom we can collaborate and scale this, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, that would be nice. And thanks, Purna, for sharing this website. I put together some of the resources I created on this website. So if you want something, let's just check it there. I put some service summary cards, some of the YouTube videos and recordings. So that could be something to munch on till we have another BESA session. So we will quickly start. We will do a introspection, figure out what can be done better. And we would need your idea, guys. Means that is important. Otherwise, we would be driving like without a car without a navigation system. So it won't work. We need to find out what can be done better. And based on that, we will take care of that. Yeah. Thank you.
And if you all already don't know, Ashish book is actually
Oh,
it
yeah.
got
That is
published
another one.
yesterday, right?
Yeah, it
Let
was
me
released
find.
yesterday, so it is a publicly available now. It was soft copy was available few weeks back, but now the book is available, and you can get that detail on the BESA on my website analogiescloud.com. So that book is purely on analogies. I clubbed with some other trainers and was able to put them into a book format. So check that book also. It is from Pact Publishing.
I'm already promoting your book and
Oh,
your style of explaining things to people who reach out to me internally and ask for mentorship, specifically how to upskill in cloud and how to learn cloud skills. So we have in Amazon, in AWS, we have lots of roles that are not technical, but they
yeah.
want to learn. But they don't know how. So Ashish, honestly, like this program and your analogies concept being an instrumental during their development as well. And I just keep saying them that I personally learn a lot how to connect the dots. And
Thank
you should get
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's see. I'm not sure how much sale it would make, but yeah, means all open. Thank you. So check this book out. There may be some Kindle edition available, so check that too. If it is, I do not have control on the cost. Otherwise, I would have made that into much lesser prices. I think price is higher, but the publisher work in their own way on deciding the price of the book. So I couldn't do anything on that, but I'll see if we can have like a referral program where this book can be made available on a lower price, but I am not sure on this right now, but I'll check. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's
All
been a
right,
pleasure.
so same here. Have everyone good weekend, and hopefully we will have a better way to connect back with you. Keep your ideas coming, and we will share more details about the next cycles. What do you want to see in next cycle? We have some plans in mind. We want to run some tracks about maybe security, maybe migration, maybe analytics, but let us know. Based on collective feedback, we will start again. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye
Bye
bye.
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 Bye.